to Ronin Kaze. Nailed the beginning. Let's see how I do for the rest of it. So I'm in the division and I'm playing the underground. I've just finished like the first daily and I'm going to do some matchmaking. So this is an older game, but there's still people playing the game. I turn on matchmaking and in a few seconds I get into a group. We're going to do challenging. That's kind of like the highest level they have. They have heroic, but those are for missions. But this is the underground that we're going to do. So the idea is this. You go in a subway. There's like 8 mission types. There's the map seems like it's just generated. So it's not the same map. So it's kind of, you're always having kind of fresh content to do this. There's the person I'm going to be running with. What we're going to talk about today is I'm going to give you the steps to load Linux since maybe you haven't done it or you want a refresher. So the number one thing you got to do to start is to define the usage. I may not keep up. I don't know what the timing is. I'm not that good to keep the timing correct, but you got to define the usage. How are you using your machine? In general, my audience are gamers. So that's kind of who I'm talking to. And that limits the amount of distros that you might want to consider. But you have to define what you want, backup, what files you have on your computer, and so on. That holds for anything you're doing in life. If you're going to start a new endeavor, what you got to define what your expectations are or what you're trying to accomplish. All right, so step 2 is going to be decide which window manager. We've talked about this before. I use KDE because in my use case, I use a Mac OS. It makes everything equal across any computer I use. You might like Gnome or Cinnamon or whatever, XFCE or any of those other ones. Doesn't matter. You find the window manager you want, and then your distro that supports that window manager, you're going to pick that distro. In the case of Catchy, it has like every window manager on it. And why might I take... If I don't care how it looks, why might I pick one window manager over the other? It's about the resources that use to use the window manager. Okay. So after we've done that, we're going to download the ISO. So you've picked the distribution you want. You go to their webpage. You download their ISO. You're going to see a bunch of different things. You want the one that's like x86/AMD. You don't want just the AMD 686. That's a 32-bit. You want the full 64-bit, the most modern one of the ISO. And in case of cache, you want the desktop, unless you have a handheld, or you want like the big box or the big screen version. But I would say get the desktop. And that's important. So right now, you know what you're going to use for it. You know what window manager, and now you've downloaded the distro that you're going to use. And see, we're going through here. I got shocked. All right, make your USB drive. If you're on Windows, you're going to download, usually it's Rufus, and then you run Rufus, and then Rufus will tell you, when I download something, I just keep it in a download directory. So then if I'm running something like Rufus, I point it towards the download directory and click that. Obviously, you have a USB drive. I've told you this before. I went out to get USB drives. I had to get a 32 gigabyte one. I got 3 for like $12, and that's okay. Seems like a waste, but it's okay, YouTube. We'll all live with that. So the thing of this mission is we got to defend these generators. We're turning on the generators, and then we got to defend them, and then they spawn. And there's like usually 3 kind of iterations of it. And that's Roxy helping you with your installation. Okay, so now you've wrote your USB. Now you're going to change the BIOS and turn off secure boot. Right? So this is kind of critical. This is a step that flummoxed me for a while when I first started trying to install these. It'll run, but to install it, you got to turn off secure boot. Whatever it is, F2, F8, F12, or delete, whatever it is for your PC, you're going to hold that while you're booting up. It'll let you go into this mode. And then you're going to go through your BIOS, and it's usually in the boot or security, and you're going to turn off secure boot. This allows you to put another OS on your system. Operating system, sorry for using an acronym. This guy in the division, you can tell what level a person is by what level their their ARM is. He's 290, I'm 290. We're near the top of what you can get in the division. All right, so now you're putting your USB stick in and you're rebooting your computer. And you've set up in your BIOS to reboot off the USB. Sorry, I should have said that in the last one. Sorry, YouTube. And it's going to boot into a live instance of your distribution that you selected. So for instance with Kaze, you see the boot screen come up and then it loads it into RAM. And then you're ready to start thinking about installing. The installation is easy. I don't show you step by step because it's so simple. It's just following the instructions and those kind of things. But up to this point, this is stuff you might not have seen. It's still relatively easy to do. If you mess it up, you just do it over. All right. Once you've installed it, so once it's come up and you're in your live version, you got to connect. For most of the distros, you got to connect to your Wi-Fi. So you're going to do that with your Wi-Fi password. Again, I should have told you this in the beginning, but you should need to know your Wi-Fi. You should know your Wi-Fi password anyways. Or you're going to connect in a network cable. And what this is going to do, it's going to load all the software, the additional updated software off the internet. There's some older distributions or some full distributions you might download a lot more. The download might be bigger, but everything's on the USB. This is the final stage of this underground run for this level. There's two kind of runs. This is the first one. This is the last stage of that one. All right, so now we've hooked up our network. We're going to start the installation. So it will start in the case of Kaze or that loader that Kaze uses, that other distros use. It won't load until you have. It won't give you the installation button until you have a Wi-Fi in there. You start the installation, you're going to select your keyboard, what language you want, what your time zone is, how you want your PC to be set up as far as the formatting of the hard drive. At this point, I'm going to tell you if you have Windows 10, you've already backed everything up. You're just going to overwrite the whole thing. You can try to dual boot. You're not going to be happy. I can tell you that from experience, from years of experience trying to dual boot. Not going to be happy. Just get rid of Windows at this point. You backed up your files, right? All right. So it's finished. It's going to be done. It'll say next or finished. You hit that. At this point, it'll go through a process where it will start shutting down. It might prompt you to pull out the USB, but before it restarts, you're going to pull out that USB. You don't want it to keep booting off the USB. Okay, so here's the bad part. We finish it, and you see how the screen's all squiggly? Now, what's going to happen after we kill this last person, some rogues are going to happen. And this is like a random thing that happens. It's relatively new, but it can happen at any point. But if you're not ready for it, you could have some drama. So it's happened now. See that? They gas in. And he runs forward. You can see that dark figure and he gets killed. And I'm like, I have my turret out, and I'm going to throw my grenades, and that guy gets me from behind. And because if there's two of you, it spawns three. I didn't see that guy. It's over. Now you're just going to install your software. You're going to install Steam. In the case of Kaze, a help thing comes up. You go to the second screen, and it will let you install all your gaming software. It might be on the first part of that screen. Then you're done. You might install OBS if you want to record it, if you're going to YouTube. You might install other things. You might, if you use VLC, you might install VLC. But to start, you're going to load Steam in there. So what happens when we die, we got to start all over on that one, all over. So we're going back through this again. All right, now you've installed it, so let's talk about what we just did. In anything in life, you should take a second to say, what am I trying to accomplish? I'm going over to my parents for Christmas. What am I trying to accomplish? I'm trying to not fight, get in an argument with my parents about whether I like the current situation or don't like the current situation, right? The point of Christmas is to have a little bit of time, even in World War I, they could set aside their differences and play a little soccer and share some food during Christmas, right? So you can do that with your family. Number 2, we defined what we wanted. This is the hardest thing for most people in life, period, right? What do you want? When I was a vice president at this company and I would talk to people and they would want a raise, they wanted more money. And yes, obviously everyone wants more money, but what do they want with their career? When I'd ask them what they want, very few people, almost no one ever could answer what they want. That's a hard thing. You have to consider what you want, because if you consider what you want, you're putting yourself on the hook because you might not hit your goals. And so what's important is you got to have goals. And the quicker you start defining what your goals are, the quicker you can make better goals. I want to dunk. I want to play basketball. I want to dunk. Not going to dunk. I'm 5'11". And although I could jump relatively okay, I could grab the rim when I was a kid, I couldn't get up to get a ball over it, right? I was never going to dunk. I know nowadays I could have got some program and maybe that could have happened. But even dunking wouldn't have allowed me to just say I'm going to play at the next level or whatever, right? It's a lot of practice. There's a lot of things that go into it. So having realistic goals is important. See, we got to protect that generator again. So the sooner you learn to set your goals and decide what you want and get them realistic, that's going to help you in your life. The next thing after you decide your goals, you got to get the tools to make that happen. Whether the tools be the tools, I want to change my oil. Do you have all the tools to change your oil? I want to have a girlfriend. Do I have the tools? Do I have the social? Listen, for all the people that might want to find a spouse or just someone to spend time with, you got to learn how to talk and listen. Right? So you've got to learn to listen first. And active listening is, right, you lean in or you're leaning back or you're giving some signs, but then you're going to have to talk. A lot of you just went, yeah, I can listen, but then you're going to have to talk. So that means you got to not only listen to the person on one half of your head, but then you got to think about something interesting to say that sparked you. And if there's a topic that didn't spark you, you're going to lead it into a new direction. Then you might ask them a question. What I found to make listening the easiest is listen and then ask questions. If they said something that you don't understand, ask questions. Some people, in some frameworks, people don't like questions because they feel like you're questioning them, like you're doubting what they're saying. You're not in this case. You're trying to date someone or understand them a little bit better. They're going to welcome the questions. That's a time when it's appropriate, you two. Then you're going to actually try to do what you're doing, right? And then you're going to see. And then this is part of this continuous improvement loop. I hate to call it that because, okay, we're going back in there. This is our second attempt at finishing this round. I'm going to be a little more conservative. I might die, you two. Sorry. At this point, I was like, it's enough, right? When you go through these things, you're like, we shouldn't have died. I don't think the rogues are going to, I mean, what kind of game would this if they gave us rogues twice in a row, right? But you're going to always do this. What's continuous improvement? I do something, I evaluate it. I either do things more the same or I change things and I do the next thing. How could I have done it better? And I keep doing that. Or if it was good, then I congratulate myself because we don't want to be monks that are, causing ourselves, I wasn't good enough, right? That's not the point of this. If you're doing good, you should take a small victory. A small one, you two. So what did we learn today? If you haven't installed Linux, there's a flowchart kind of for you to do it. You can follow it in the first part of the video. You should use some economy of thought. The thing you did to install this Linux is the same thing you can do for, a lot of things in your life, for projects to anything, right? You're just mapping it out. You should have already done this at Christmas, YouTube. Now it's you know, we're getting near the Super Bowl time, so now there's important things on the weekend. If you have Super Bowl, I don't know what it is in soccer. I apologize to all my world fans that are into soccer. I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on in soccer right now. Maybe I should learn YouTube. And down goes Ronin. Ronin. Now my partner tries to pick me up. I hit the wrong button. If you're half alive, it's easier to get you up. It's a longer thing to get you up if you've died, so this was my fault. Sorry, and then he gets hit. He has to kill him, and then... All right, then he hit his thing that gets me up. My thing didn't go off automatically, and I go back to tossing my technology. We're going to get out of here. So, no excuse. I'm smoking that boss right there. No excuse not to have Linux now. I did everything but run it for you. Not going to run it for you because it's so easy. You'll do it. But that's kind of the meta level of that. This is Ronin Kaze. I hope you have a wonderful day. Hopefully the video won't post immediately when I upload it. Thanks, YouTube. Bye.